Out there in the vastness of the North Sea, where the relentless noise of machinery meets the howl of the wind, men push themselves to the limit. But what happens when the real battle comes from within? Hi, I'm Tug Morkel, and today I want to talk about something that's rarely spoken about in the oil and gas industry: mental health. And I want to talk about it through my own story. 20 years ago, I walked into a medical examination, hopeful, honest, and determined. I spent my life adapting, surviving, and rebuilding. But what I didn't know was that my honesty about my mental health would cost me a job before I even stepped foot on an oil rig. I paid my 79 quid for the medical exam, believing that transparency was the right thing to do. After all, we had seen the devastation that could happen offshore. 167 lives were lost on Piper Alpha. Safety was paramount, and I understood that. But what I didn't understand was this: to be deemed fit for offshore work, I had to be medication-free for 3 years. The doctor told me point blank that I wouldn't qualify. Just like that, my career in offshore work was over before it even began. Think about that. If I had an untreated mental illness, I could work offshore. But if I was actively managing it with modern medication, proven to be effective, I was a risk. I remember the rejection letters, psychiatric reports, and visibly shaking my head from left to right, not wanting to believe my predicament. My psychiatrist was just as baffled as I was. He wrote to the medical officer stating that I was stable and fit, but I was successfully managing my condition, that my ability to function offshore wouldn't be a problem. But that didn't matter. The guidelines were set in stone. I wasn't dealing with a job rejection. I was dealing with stigma, the kind that makes people suffer in silence, the kind that forces people to choose between their livelihood and their health. I wrote a book called Tug's Trek. I wrote about it. For years, I kept quiet about my struggles. I buried it under layers of forced resilience. I even lied to my friends and colleagues about why I failed, saying it was due to hearing loss from gunfire, just to avoid the shame. But today, I'm speaking up again, because I know I am not the only one. A recent study shows that offshore workers aged 35 to 64 are more likely to believe that seeking mental health support could cost them their jobs. And the sad reality, they might be right. Many workers suffer in silence. They fear that by admitting they need help will mean being deemed unfit for work. They worry that the industry values physical health and technical skills, but not mental resilience. And so they keep going until they can't anymore. We need to talk about this. We need to change this. It's time for offshore medical guidelines to reflect modern mental health science. To recognize that treatment isn't a weakness, it's a strength. That stability isn't just about being medication-free, but about being well. Mental health isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving. And if we want to build a safer, stronger offshore workforce, we need to stop making people choose between their jobs and their well-being. So, to all the fellow workers out there, if you're struggling, you're not alone. And you shouldn't have to hide it. The industry must do better, and together we can push for change. When one door closed for me, I had to open another. The offshore industry didn't want me, but I wasn't going to give up. I pivoted, I adapted, I threw myself into learning new skills: digital business, QHSE, energy management. I did a degree in environmental studies. I became NEBOSH certified. I became a qualified lead auditor in energy management and other disciplines. It wasn't easy. The transition from the rig to the desk felt like stepping into a whole new world. But I learned to embrace continual improvement. I discovered new ways to apply my knowledge, and slowly I rebuilt my career. So if you're out there struggling with career uncertainty, know this: you can adapt, you can learn new skills, you can redefine your future. No matter where you are, there is always another path forward. If this message resonates with you, share this video. Start the conversation, and let's work towards an offshore industry that values every part of our well-being. Thanks for listening. Cheers for now, and see you soon.